Okay.
Going live.
We are live. Showtime, so I guess it's showtime. It's so exciting. So hi, everybody. I'm John Paduchak, JohnPaduchak.com, and Targeted Net Solutions. And over here, I got Dr. Christopher Vogelman. This guy.
Wait, I didn't see.
Yeah.
I got multiple messages. Let's just be sure. One thing for organizing is be sure to turn off all your notifications.
Yeah, it was a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yes, I am Dr. Christopher Vogelman of Maximize Your Media, Crucial Business, and most of all, Life Beyond Practice, the group for doctors who want to escape the exam room for their own online businesses. And
I am following up here. I'm the exclamation point to the sentence.
Oh.
I'm Troy McDonald of LiveEventMarketers.com, or the Facebook group Live Event Marketers, where we help those people who are live streaming either events or just their own personal live streaming videos, live streaming lives. Anyway, where we help you to get more viewers, and we work everything's based on helping you build your live stream attendees, and also working on with joint venture type things with other related people who are in both business and internet marketing. And I really screwed that one up today. I don't know. I was actually in the middle of trying to update things.
See, you're doing the same thing I was doing, this is extremely topical for today, getting organized.
Organization.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a bit of a day.
We are living examples of responding to sometimes putting out fires that maybe you shouldn't have had started in the first place.
I know.
Yeah,
And in my talk yesterday, I talked a lot about how we're multitasking, and we have the attention span now of a goldfish. So there you go.
But I have heard it's slightly lower than a goldfish. So
I have heard slightly lower than a goldfish now.
I think goldfish was goldfish 6 seconds or 8 seconds, and human beings are like in that 3 to 4 second range now.
So who's trying
What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, squirrel.
Squirrels are high in cholesterol.
I think if you really think about that statement, though, it really comes down to what they're saying is that it's that short attention span to actually grab them and pull them in, because it's not that we can't pay attention. It's just you have to have a good enough reason to get somebody to pay attention to you. And then it's an interesting point now that we're bringing this up. I know this is kind of side topic, but I've noticed that with some shows, like, because I watch some shows to just kind of veg and all that kind of stuff, especially towards the evening when I'm just kind of relaxing for the evening and winding down, is that sometimes, typically this is a brand new show, right? So you're starting on the first episode, and it's either starting to pull you in or not, right? And you kind of get to a point where, whose thing dinged, because that like echoed kind of all crazy. Anyway, that was kind of interesting.
It's dinging away.
It was because it was like ding, ding, ding. It was weird. Anyway, so see, you distracted me. You got my attention.
So the ding works.
Yes. So when you watch a show,
are you live? Yes.
Referring to kind of like the actual, like the first episode. And does it kind of pull you in? And I find that two things happen for me, and I assume this kind of is probably everybody else too. One, either it doesn't, and you can be like off pretty quick, like, you're kind of trying to watch it, and it's just not pulling you in, right? So you just, an example of this is like the, what is that one that's been going around? The tiger one.
Tiger King.
Tiger King. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I think I watched maybe 15 minutes of that, and I was like, it didn't pull me in. And everybody says, oh, well, you got to wait until really in the second or something episode.
That's true of a lot of episodes. Like, for example, Breaking Bad. Most people didn't like Breaking Bad till maybe episode 3, somewhere episode 5. But there seems to be a certain point at which you reach critical mass of individual consciousness that hooks somebody.
So
the hooks are probably different for different people.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So it's quite interesting that we have that short attention span. So either people are going to not give you the time of day past the that short attention span, or you're going to fall into and I think what plays into it is your preconceived notion of what you've heard, in other words, from other friends or other sources that make you go, okay, well, I need to hold on longer past this. I'm already ready to check out. Something is going to be in the back of your mind telling you, okay, just give it some more time. So that's actually the interesting factor, and in fact, quite an interesting marketing point to talk about and think about is that, what can you do prior to people coming into contact with your stuff? So, like, what's your brand that you're building? How are you building this particular launch? If it's a launch, how are you building that up? Who are you getting to be your social proof that people need to hang on maybe a little longer, because it may be something that they're not going to get right off the bat. They're not maybe going to understand it or how it applies to them or how it's important. But I've really found that kind of to be my case is one, either I'm turn off really quick, and I think that's what I go by. Like, why should I hang on to this longer? Because I'm not seeing what my friends are seeing, or that kind of thing. So anyways, that's a side point to add on to the attention span.
I would say, why don't we save this discussion, because this could be a whole hour in and of itself for the future.
Oh, yeah.
And get back to getting organized on
well, what I was doing right there was an example of organizing my thoughts.
but we had to go along
for the ride.
Yes, you did. See, but you see how I kept you in there. And if the only reason why I was able to keep you in there is because you had to be on the live.
It's only because I finished my guacamole. I finished my guacamole. That's the only reason you had my attention.
And that works.
All right. Well, then let's just put it this way. That was my bonus tip for the day that I've thought. So
good. The bonus tip of organizing.
Perfect.
So organizing takes many different forms, and each of us has our own different system. Do any of you use project management software like Asana or Monday or anything like that?
I use Asana.
You do? Do you like it?
I do. I've used it for years, but I gotta say I tend to not use it as much or as well as I should. Like I tend to use it, but still kind of swim around it, which I shouldn't.
So do you resort to paper and spreadsheets more than you do to, say, a software thing? Or
it's funny you should say that. I actually do resort to writing a lot of stuff out on paper.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
As much as I like keeping track of things digitally, I try to organize as much stuff with Google Calendar as I can. I use Google Keep a lot to keep track of different things.
Wait, what was it? Google what?
Google Keep.
Keep. I've never used Google Keep.
A lot of people have not heard Google Keep, but it's a great little tool.
I've done Slides, I've done Paint, I've done others, but never Keep.
Well, it's pretty cool. In fact, I would suggest to everybody to go in and look at all the different Google apps and try them out. There's some great stuff there that a lot of us don't even know about.
Yeah, because our mutual friend, James Schramko, I remember a couple of years ago, he switched his entire business into Google products because he wanted to be able to travel the world and operate his entire business from his cell phone, which I thought was just particularly interesting when you're talking about a lifestyle business.
I've managed to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because, we travel a lot in the RV and stuff. I've managed to do a lot of the same kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. There's still a few things I have to do for my laptop because the apps on your phone, although, you can always log in and utilize it. But the apps on your phone don't have a lot of different things that, you can do with actually logging into different applications.
Yeah. Troy, do you use any sort of management software or project management stuff?
Well, I was involved with Asana in the sense of I used it in a group at one point, but I don't know, it just kind of annoyed me actually.
Oh, really? Why?
I don't know, I just never really liked it. I think it might have been the environment because I felt more like I was a consultant and I felt more like an employee, and I'm like, yo, hey, I'm not your employee, so that's my rebel side. So I really like Monday.com from what I can see that it does. However, I thought the pricing was kind of like not into that. So I went with what I've been
friends using, are using Monday. Yeah.
Is ClickUp.
ClickUp. Interesting.
Yeah, and there are some other services that are they're going to be similar, to kind of like say Monday, Monday.com and ClickUp and that kind of thing. One of the other things that I think I would like to use from what I've seen of it for organizing some projects is Airtable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have friends who love that.
But I have not actually used it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I'm still a lot like John. I use my psychedelic notebooks to write things down and then transfer them later if I have to. But
you go great with your glasses.
What's that?
They go great with your glasses.
Thanks a lot. I don't wear those glasses anymore because girls don't make passes at guys with those glasses.
Especially those.
Anyway, this is pretty psychedelic. This gets, by the way, yeah, if I have a cover of a book that I really like, I will tend to use it more than sort of the plain Jane type of notebook, like the old composition notebooks that we had in school where they had the sort of the black marbleized type of thing. I find myself going back to those rather than spiral bound. And maybe it's just tapping into the little elementary school kid who is okay with filling out notes and those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that I like when I'm thinking things out to go to paper, but to actual have it somewhere, I like to have it in the cloud in some form. So that way, because I have like a lot of notes and a lot of, oh, this note, is it this one? Is it in this one? And I've got it, which page did I have it on? And yeah, so
I've got Post-its. You can't see this, but I have Post-its all around me right now.
I will do that more like for reminder kind of things than when I'm trying to make it a kind of a habit thing, like, hey, remember to do this like every time or something. Yeah, but I get the Post-it thing.
I used to have digital Post-its. I used to have them all over my screen.
Yeah, digital Post-its. then your screen becomes so incredibly cluttered with all kinds of stuff. It gets, every once in a while, I just have to clear my entire desktop screen out and reorganize those things, because sometimes I'll put things into desktop just because it's a current project, and before you know it, the whole thing is just covered with little folders and icons and things, and then I have to upload those either to Dropbox or Google Drive or someplace like that.
Right.
To get them out of my hard drive.
I wanted to give a quick shout out though, because Gail said, looking good, John. So we want to recognize Gail's in here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think she.
I think it was earlier.
She likes your moisturizer.
But I try.
It shows for me it was 1:18. So I don't know whose time zone that is. So
18. Interesting.
Yeah, so a couple hours ago.
I think these things are delayed.
Wait, a couple hours ago.
This says 12:18. Yeah,
this says live comments.
Yeah, this said it was at 3:18. I actually saw it like just after I set up our.
That was earlier. Yeah, so it was exactly an hour. No, 2 hours ago. Time. 2 hours ago.
How can they come in live?
They're not. They just from commenting on our post.
Oh yeah. Hello, Troy. See, I'm really not with it today. Wow,
okay.
Talking about my brain's not organized.
Troy, things go better with Coke.
Yeah. Yes.
I need to pop myself a few of my Coke Tic Tacs.
Pop a Tic Tac.
Yeah.
You should pop that Tic Tac before you go on TikTok.
You know, Mark Hardy introduced me to a great app that I use quite a lot called Time Doctor.
Time what?
Time Doctor.
Time Doctor.
Yeah, to organize my time.
Time Doctor. I like
keep
that.
Track of what I use, how much time I put on different tasks.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Those things kind of annoy me. Like even like using Pomodoro and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, hey, I'm honest. I'm honest. You know,
it's like get off my lawn time.
Well, this is more like a tracker versus an alarm system. So just
well, it's both. Like I don't want things telling me like, you know, like maybe someone tell me what to do. Really, that's why I'm an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Like,
what if you're the one who's programmed it though? You don't like to tell yourself what to do?
That always is the exception to the rule. Right? You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, it's the same thing like do as I say, not as I do. Like it's okay if we do things, whatever, but we always have to we could tell people to do things kind of differently or whatever. People are like that. That's human nature.
Yeah.
Think different.
So I guess it's just more because like I think sometimes, you know, we realize we may have spent too much time on a particular thing. Who wants to reinforce to ourselves that I shouldn't have done that. And then sometimes when I do like say more like the Pomodoro thing, which is for people who don't know, it's pretty much where you kind of set a certain period of time to accomplish stuff, and then you usually use a timer for that. And then I think I guess unless it resonates with you naturally, like that's okay. I feel like constrained and I can't think about almost anything else except the timer thing, and I'm not being creative and I'm not in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it just depends on your personality.
Yeah, I get that, because I've actually resisted systems for the longest time because I just want to be creative and bouncing around and coming up with new ideas and then distilling them into something useful. But that creative process, I sometimes feel that I'm being constrained by having a system in place or timers. And yet the system, or having a system, probably affords you more time to be creative. That's the irony.
Dr. V, you must have some people on the interwebs there, because you're going in and out.
You're lagging a little bit.
But while he looks into that, and while he goes and tells people it's not time to play PlayStation anymore.
Get off! Get off!
I do think you have a valid point, because I'm both, in the sense that I do like the creative time, but I also believe in systems, because systems help you, for lack of a better way to describe it, be systematized. You need to then take what you have creatively put together, which to me is actually putting a system together, is you'd use creativity for that, of thinking how the pieces connect and how they best can connect. And then you need to have a system to implement, like even with when we go live here, right? So you go ahead and post, or you message me, hey, we're going to go live at this time, here's the topic, etc. Then I'm able to then step into the system of, I need to announce it here and I need to announce it here, to give people time to set their time frame. Hey, I want to attend that. I want to hear their topic. I want to hear what they're talking about. And so I do believe in both. So even though it sounds like I'm a rebel against things, or I don't like systems and I don't want to be told what to do, systems also help you to have a peace of mind and be relaxed, because you're not always having to think of how should this be implemented, or how did I do it again? That's what you do in your creative planning, at least the way I see it. And then your system is how you actually put it in motion and implement it. And again, it takes the stress away. You're not having to think, what's step one, what's step two, what's step three, that kind of thing, is how I see a system.
Hey, Dr. V, your sister's here.
My sister's here?
Your sister's here. Say hi to your sister.
He's my sister.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle.
We could let her in at some point.
Processes
After
and
we get organized.
those things are very important.
She's a very organized person, I will say that. She was able to organize 4 brothers all the time.
She seems it to me.
And 3 kids and a husband and all that kind of stuff.
And line dancing. Organized line dancing.
Yeah. Line dancing on Zoomy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I could probably go through a gazillion organization apps if I looked at my phone, because I have them all like laid out on my phone. But
are they organized?
Do you use them? That's the question.
That's funny you should say that. So I've been working on organizing them by group and grouping them up, which has really helped a lot. My problem is I'm always like looking at things, testing out new stuff, and then I don't always put them over and move them to groups. So every once in a while, I'll take like a half an hour, 15 minutes, and take a bunch of them and move them to a group. Take a bunch of them, move them to a group. So I think chunking things down and every once in a while taking a little time to be organized, because it's funny. I don't know about you guys, but my wife is the organized one. I'm the mess, the family, right?
Hey, ditto.
Let me guess, right? It's the 3 of us, right? How do I know? So we likes attract likes, right? And so I'm thinking about this. And I'm going, if it wasn't for my lovely wife, I would be like a disaster area to be around. And thank goodness. I mean, she just keeps me in line, and she helps me come up with new systems to keep things neat and well organized and find stuff. And James Schramko also mentioned tile one day, right? I'm always like leaving my keys someplace. They can't find my phone. I've got like tiles stuck to everything so that I can.
In case they you find them.
Yeah. So I am really. This is a fun conversation for me, because I am really an unorganized mess.
Well, this actually brings up a thought of.
Yeah.
Again, this is the thing is with the internet and just basically technology.
Yeah.
So there's now everybody and their grandpa is a coder, and now there's a new version of this kind of thing and that kind of thing that can organize you or not, And so I think again, this is more like an obvious comment, but it really is more of a finding a system or a way that works for you and then using it. And you have to be careful and not to just get into what's the next new gadget, whatever, because that does create the, kind of like the unorganized type scenario. Like,
well, then
I like to have, I like to have the creativity. And so I'm always trying out things, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a point where you have to kind of, set the cement down, let it start to harden, and that's what you're going to walk on, so to speak. Because you can always be jumping from thing to thing, and then not only you're not organized, but you're not effective. Because I think organization, the reason for that is to be effective. So I think this organization conversation can also have on as the twin brother or twin sister as effectiveness. So, what are you really trying to accomplish by being organized? And if you're always trying to be organized in the new way or another way, I'd almost say maybe you're better off being organized in a way, even if it's old school or, it's just a system that works for you.
Exactly.
Find something that works and stick to it. And if it stops working, then seek out something different.
Yeah. I make lots of
Or I agree with Dr. Volman, something different, and that can mean one of two things: literally something different, or just an adjustment. Mm-hmm. Because again, as we become
changing your habit in terms of how you're being organized.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because there are different people have accounting software and things like that. Some people will use QuickBooks. Some people will use, what's the one I was thinking of? FreshBooks. People all have different preferences with respect to software in terms of accounting systems, and organizing your finances is part of being a systematized entrepreneur.
Yes. I use paper books.
Paper books?
Old school.
You got the little visor in your ledger that you're going through.
I know. It's funny. I have resisted for eons going to accounting software. I think mostly because I managed to keep business very uncomplicated, but now it's starting to get a little bit more complicated. So now I'm looking that route. I've been testing new things out to see what's going to work best for me and all of that. But it's funny you could bring that one up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not like you're playing Tom Cratchit in your office, on Christmas Eve with Ebenezer looking over checking your books and things like that. But I was thinking of one of the things that we recognized was, since we have had success in obtaining some of the PPP funds, is that we have to be extremely accurate now on our accounting methods, because if you ever expect to see some of that amount forgiven in the future, we have to have all the T's crossed, the I's dotted, and the decimals in the right place.
Now I'm digging out my phone. We're gonna
dig out your phone now.
We're gonna play a little game. Are you ready?
Well, how many apps do you have?
Well, while he pulls out his phone, it is interesting to hear. So, I've talked to my accountant and everything, and he talks about it all the time, because my wife is extremely organized in her business. Mm-hmm. Mine is simplified to where it's fairly easy to get done. So I do mine always last minute when we go to see him. But he talks about, the people that come in, and it's basically like, boom, here's all these paper things, and you need to go through them. Now, granted, you pay more for that.
Yeah, here's my giant grocery bag of receipts. Please go through them so I don't go to jail. That's the approach.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that, I get it. There are people like that. However, I know that's interesting. When you think about it, that's how many flavors of type of entrepreneurs we have. There's just so many.
Yeah,
there are a lot.
Well, you yourself don't have to be terribly organized, providing that you surround yourself with people who are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in fact, that's why I do have an accountant, not only for him to figure out stuff, because I have the numbers and everything like that. But I'm like, if it came down to where they said, hey, you got to fill out your own stuff, I'd be like, well, does this apply to that? I have this information, but does this fit into that? And that's where I'm actually paying for the expertise as well, because I'm expecting him to be on top of what's the latest.
You're paying for the expertise. Yeah, because that's when you start getting into tax planning instead of just filling out forms.
I mean, I do remember the days of 1040 EZ, but that's long gone.
I haven't had an easy in so many years. God,
I know, that's what I'm
decades.
saying. It's been
No,
a few
you know,
decades,
I've
you know.
never filled out an easy. Now that I think about it.
I think
Well,
one-
no, you had to have, like when you were young and you worked at some Flip Burgers or something like that.
I didn't fill out anything.
I don't think I ever have.
Don't
I made so little money.
announce that you didn't pay taxes or whatever.
Oh no,
No,
it's not that.
I made so little money in some of those jobs
No.
that I never did.
I think I've always done maybe 1040A, but not. I don't think ever an easy.
I've never done
Really,
an
you
easy.
never did an EZ,
I don't
Never.
think I've ever done easy. No, ever.
even as a
Nothing
teen, I
easy
think, or towards
No.
the earlier years, or whatever.
I don't think
No.
so.
Nothing's easy about my
I
life.
think always A or 1040.
Oh,
Always did 1040s, and then later added the Schedule C.
I think I might have been able to do one year without a 1040, but never an easy.
Yeah.
that's just the one I remember.
So there you go.
There you go.
So
So you're pulling up your phone.
I was pulling up my phone, and it got me thinking a couple things. Obviously, using apps to organize passwords, things like that. I'm not going to mention which one because I don't want anybody hacking into my account, but those kinds of things. I was bumping into. I did see I've got the app for Asana, so I use it. I've got that there. I was trying to think if there's anything else that I use typically to organize stuff, especially on the road.
We used to use Trello, but I didn't really care for that.
Yeah, I still use it
Oh, really?
from time to time to organize different projects. I still use Trello. a little bit.
I like the fact of what Trello is, and that's the, or some people say Kanban, just how I pronounce it, but I think it's Kanban or something like that. That's how it really is. I don't know. Somebody will correct me, but I do like that for moving things along, kind of like seeing where I'm at and throwing down sometimes just ideas, and I can go, okay, yeah, now forget that one. I just totally delete it, or you start moving along the process.
Have either of you used Slack successfully for project management?
I like Slack. I use Slack a little bit from time to time. I like the fact that it's got all the communication aspects to it.
Yeah.
I was looking, I said, I use Drive a lot for organizing stuff. I use Feedly to organize feeds.
And let's help other people. Drive, you're referring to Google Drive.
Google Drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drive.
You got to remember, we have all different kinds of people watching the show. So
Not driving the RV,
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, I got Google Keep.
but digital.
Reminders. I've got reminders and notes too, just like reminders and notes. I think that's about mostly what I use.
I liked Apple Notes a lot.
You like
But
what?
then I would take the Apple Notes and then convert them over to a Google Doc. So
Oh, Apple Notes.
I would just cut and paste and send them out.
There used to be a app that you could use to organize your notes. Like you could go and take notes from YouTube, and it followed the video. And I think it was not.es notes. I don't know if that's still around or not, but that was great for like transcribing video content, and it actually kept like line by line as you did it.
now we're all going to look, see if that site exists anymore.
So is .es Estonia or something like that? Or what country is ES?
It's pretty creative though. not.es.
Yeah, that's great. not.es.
Yeah.
That's not pulling up for me.
It's not pulling up.
Yeah.
So it's notes.dead.
Well, maybe it's not around anymore.
Can you imagine if you get the .dead URL extension?
Oh my gosh.
I know. That'd be crazy, huh? All right, so I guess it's not around. Maybe I got the wrong thing. I thought that was what it was.
And maybe it's note.s. No.
But it was, I can't think of it off the top of my head. It was something like that. It was a great little app. You could use it to work through a video and take notes on it. And it kept up with it, with the timing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
See, now I love that kind of stuff, especially since we were talking previously about repurposing stuff.
Right.
So now you got me like going, well, what was that site? Or does he have it right? Or does now everybody, and now you have everybody on an open loop.
Everybody start searching.
Yeah, like they're watching this and they're like, oh my gosh, and I want to find that. What is it? How dare you do that?
I know. I wish I could. I know it was something like that. It was.
I mean, that'd be a killer site, not.es, but
it was something along that line.
.dead would also be a killer site.
Yeah. Maybe.
Could be.
Could be.
So project management is one thing. What do either of you organize employees within your business, like VAs or others like that? How do you keep them on track?
Well, it's been quite a while since I've had anybody else work on any of the projects for me.
Mm-hmm.
That when I had always done it, it was super easy for me because it was like me and a programmer and maybe somebody who was doing some graphic, you know what I mean? And it was like just on a project type thing. So, I mean, I pretty much used whatever system I was using, meaning where I hired him. So it'd be one of the, the hiring websites that I would use to kind of organize that and keep track of where we're at. And yeah, so
like Elance or whatever it was, or
use whatever was there.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a ton of stuff. Rent-A-Coder from way back in the day that, and all that stuff. Yeah. But I haven't had it where you probably, Dr. B, have had maybe more people, or you're dealing with, employees compared to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we had, of course, practice management software with respect to electronic notes. And then we had billing software, which is a separate system. And then in terms of dealing with employees, I mean, I have my standard operating procedure, which is basically everything written down in an employee manual with every single thing that needed to be done from the time the patient called you for the first appointment till the time that they paid their bill and exited, to how to develop x-rays and how to sterilize instruments and how to clean the place and all that stuff, what to do in marketing campaigns, how to track where people come from our marketing campaigns. I mean, this thing was super thick. I mean, it's just an amazing book.
That's interesting you bring that up, because that is a very important thing. Not only actually, I mean, I have them kind of in my head, right? But if I ever needed somebody or something were to happen to me and I needed somebody to kind of fill in for something for a little bit, there is no SOP or standing operating procedures that are written out.
It's really important. I can tell you from personal experience, especially when you have to train a new person coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not around and you suddenly have one of the .dead URLs associated with you, at least the business can continue. The business can continue because somebody can take that standard operating procedures manual, and if they can't necessarily duplicate exactly who you are, but they can perform some of the tasks that you have done and keep the business running while you're recovering or being resurrected from the .dead URL.
Well, and that's the thing is, when I worked for some places as a consultant, again, they did have that, right? But it was interesting that, again, two separate companies, and neither of them had really an organized way of doing it. And I know there's been a few tools that have popped up, over the years, but I've never found one, or I've never known actually a company to have one that was, I don't forget, lack of a better word, reliable, because like somebody kept some portion over here, and then it was supposed to get to the main one, and then you had something like, oh, I know this, can be updated with this information because this has changed, and they're never really organized all that well. And I'm talking about more virtual company type stuff versus say physical location. And
I'm thinking, though, in terms of, but you're just sparking some things that I recognize, which is that it would be great to have have your SOP manual there. And then it's a living, breathing document. So you have to update it periodically. And if it was in something like Google Drive, where you could have comments and then resolve the conflicts in the comments, or create some sort of I don't know if it has to be Asana or Trello or something, but the idea that your manual, your systems are dynamic and they can be revised, but they're, by and large, most of it is standardized and stays the same according to the principles by which you operate your business.
And then you bring up another point that I recognized it's living, breathing, it's dynamic. And what I found, I'm specifically thinking of actually both places. I won't say it's one of them, but both the companies that I worked for as a consultant, they did have where there was updates and maybe even notes and everything like that. But what happened is they never had anybody kind of dedicated to the SOP. So it was like everybody was so busy on their day-to-day that those updates and things were never put into the SOP. So and then you go to reference it, and you're like, well, okay, it says this, but I mean, was that finally approved? Like, is that okay? I mean, because that makes sense, but I mean, like, because you don't that there's other people going to look at it. It's like, well, like, oh, well, that was talked about, but we never really approved it yet, and so you're like, now, like, well, who do I follow, or what do I follow? Because now you can cause confusion within your own team,
in your organization. So somebody has to be in charge of the updates, or at least reminding people that the updates need to be approved. Now, for most of us, we're solopreneurs, or maybe we have a couple of VAs, and that would actually be fairly simple. It'd be great to have a manual where you have all the training for your VAs laid out in case somebody disappears, which has happened to us before. The VA is gone and you can't reach that person, and that institutional knowledge has disappeared with them.
Right. Digital Marketer for a while, I think they still do. They make a system where you can find your stuff on Drive, find your stuff on Dropbox, kind of bring it all together in one place. And it actually lets you go out and put SOPs together.
Does that still exist?
Yeah, I think it's fairly recent. They just did it in the last year. I want to say they came up with it in the last year or so. There's another company I worked with for a little while. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but they did something very similar to that. So there's a couple people out in the market that make a system for that.
Well, yeah, there's one that's in my mind somewhere too as well. It's kind of funny we're talking about that. We can't even think of any of the ones to do it because it has been hard. It hasn't really existed so much, and I know there have some people been coming up with solutions for it, but I can't think of. I mean, we have to look online for like SOP software or something or whatever.
I had somebody recently share an SOP with me, which was absolutely magnificent. I mean, it's just
thank
like,
you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Come on now. I mean,
it was in fact, I think it was called the SOP Signature Series, and I think it was actually SOP stood for Sheet on Parade.
Yes, it does actually. You are correct.
Yeah. So.
But tell us more about it, though. What you were so impressed with on the.
Well, what I was impressed with was because, I mean, the sheer volume of material that was presented, and the ability, because it was chunked down into these sort of easy bite-sized pieces by chapter, and then chunked down even further, you could see how it would be fairly, let's put it this way, easier than most businesses to plug somebody into the business with a particular set of skills and or train them to level up to the point where they became a master of that little chunk of the manual.
Well, you know what I actually, that actually makes me think that part of the problem with some of these SOPs now that we're pretty much any business has, a lot of technology is involved now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there would be, and especially if you're a really, really internet-based business, especially the ones that I worked with have been some form of a digital business. So more of training, and then of course a software company, but you get like screenshots. So it would kind of show them kind of the step-by-step, but then the software changes and then those screenshots aren't updated. And that's a big piece that
all the time. In fact, this particular business who shared it with me, even their branding changed, which kind of I looked at it, it's like, okay, so substitute this brand, what the business used to be called, for this brand, and substitute these programs for the programs that used to be there. But still, even with those changes, it was very well organized. And I mean, it was the type of thing that like the person who authored it was so immersed in systems and system theory that they wouldn't leave any detail out of that manual. It was pretty impressive. Yeah,
I just did a little search just to see what was out, and I found Flowster and ClickMinded. I can't remember if those were one of the ones I was looking for.
Click up to ClickMinded or
ClickMinded and Flowster.
Flowster.
ClickUp is like the Monday.com thing.
ClickUp is like Monday. I'm looking for something like a Monday, but I agree with you on the pricing on Monday. I didn't know.
I kind of like Friday better.
I prefer Sunday. Monday at the showcase.
Monday, Wednesday, Monday. I didn't even know Monday was a thing. So
the Adams family, so I wasn't that keen. Monday. TGIM, thank God it's Monday. So, in terms of getting organized, how would you rate yourself in terms of organization and your business?
A solid 2.
You're a solid 2.
Just kidding.
Solid.
No, John, it's okay. You don't have to say that you're just kidding. It's okay to be a 2, because I don't even know if I'd probably rate myself that 2 as well. No, I mean, it really depends, because like, it's interesting. I have areas that I'm really more organized in. Then there's the other areas that I'm getting around to.
Same with me.
Organizing. So it's
around to it.
around to it.
I have a coin that says to it, and it is a round to it.
Realistically, I'm probably a 5. I feel like I got a lot of room for improvement. I've really worked on getting things put in place over the last couple of years. So it's really not that bad.
That's what I'd say. I'd say like a 5 out of 10 too, because it's like there's the half that's organized, and then the other half that's waiting for the round to it.
Yeah.
I'm a 4.5, but really, even just a couple of months ago, I was probably a 3. So.
Oh wow! I mean, there's a half of me that says, I'm always going to be a mess, because it seems like as hard as I try, as many things that I do put in place and make better.
But is that the mindset? I'm always going to be a mess.
I know. That's the thing. I try not to say that, but yet reality, I have to say, this is where I am right now.
All I need to know is, do you put gas in the RV?
Of course. Oh my gosh.
Well,
so
that's so well.
So this is the funny thing. I will never let my car run out of gas. I mean, I always make sure I fill it up.
It's a
my wife, on the other hand, the organized one, just the opposite. She is coming in on fumes, and she'll say, "Hey, I got to go get gas." Why does that not surprise me?
I'll make it to the gas station.
So it's funny you should say that. So that is
yes, I've
very good in
3 times since being married. Once in the desert in Arizona at night, which my wife never lets me forget. So
yeah, ouch.
Yeah, but with 1 bar of cell phone, if I walked about 10 feet in front of the car, so we could call AAA.
Hey, at least you had that. Thank goodness. I mean,
I will tell you the reason behind it, because I had been driving a diesel Gulf for God knows how many years, probably about 12 years. And the Gulf died, and we had the gas-powered Jetta with the same engine in it. And my brain was so connected to the idea I could get like 500 miles on a single tank. It didn't occur to me that this was no longer a diesel engine. So,
and it's so funny that you talk about that. We're talking about, not to change the subject a lot here, but it's really funny to me. But we're talking about fuel economy the other day, and we're big, old. I've got a older Mercedes diesel car, right?
Love the Benz.
That thing weighs 7,000 pounds and still gets 33 miles to the gallon.
Yep.
It blows my mind. And, so I understand. I'm just saying, I totally understand how you could make that adjustment.
I had a diesel Rabbit.
Yeah. So if having a Golf, basically the same one. And so in my mind, so the basic concept in my little lizard brain was that all engines give you 500 miles on a single tank. And so that was just going along blissfully ignorant that I was not only running on fumes, but running completely out of fuel. So I was less organized on that trip than I should have been. So
I know, because I used to drive all the way from here to New York in one tank with that car.
Yep. So how do we
Sorry.
How do we organize our business to have enough energy and fuel to take us to the finish line?
So
like
you say, you can't be blissfully in your business. You have to be aware.
Awareness is a good thing. If you're aware that you have a problem, there are a lot of business owners who they're not aware that they have a problem. They believe their employees are happy. They believe their customers are happy, but nobody's ever dared ask all these people.
Right.
That's true.
So surveying and having conversations may be part of your organizational strategy.
So much so that they have shows around that topic.
Yep.
For restaurants and for all kinds of businesses.
And Marie Kondo comes in. These objects have no more joy.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
My business has no more joy.
Getting organized. Well, businesses, I mean, it's interesting. There's an entire industry in so many places like Container Store and others whose sole existence is to provide you with additional storage mechanisms for all your stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny hearing us talk about this, because the three of us, I like to think, are in the situation where we're doing a lot of business with other business owners.
Yeah.
In a consultant level.
Correct.
So, or advisory level. So we really see a lot of intriguing things. Probably more than most people see. And then we got our own things.
Leaks in the entrepreneurial ship, and somebody's sticking a finger in when the iceberg is hit on the other side.
Yeah, it's really interesting working.
I think
with
it's
other,
the term. Yeah, other businesses.
Working with other businesses, because when you have to show them like their faults or where things need to be worked on, like, because I don't like to hear my own. You know what I mean? Even and especially if I already know them ahead of time too, and then I want somebody else to remind me that you have an issue. And an issue just means like it's not as effective as it could be, kind of thing. You know.
Yep. Please tell me I'm perfect and pretty in pink. So.
But you know, the interesting thing too, the good thing about where we are nowadays with the technology is it does allow us to be more systematic than we could physically do ourselves.
More aware if you're looking at the data, because we're involved in data-driven businesses to a great extent.
Yeah. It's spectacular for that, to keep track of, you know, any of the data we need to touch.
Even
on.
How many 3-second views were there on your video? What was your bounce rate?
The other thing too is that you have to be careful because it's easy to also fall in the trap of trying to be so systematic and so automatic and automated that's all you're doing is chasing the next automated tool thingy, whatever. Because I think most people are this is how I see it, and I know we talked about this, man, some time back on one of our lives, but people are in business to basically pay their lifestyle. You know, I mean, they want the businesses for, you know, the freedom and things, but it's really to maintain a particular lifestyle. People don't even want to necessarily work anymore, really. People want to just do what they do, get that done and over with, so they can just live. So it's that lifestyle thing. People want to just live nowadays for the most part. And so when you do work with a lot of clients and customers, they're looking to buy your product to get them from point A to point B, and or service, same thing, point A to point B, because they're just wanting to check off those boxes so that they can get the end result they want, which is, you know, the money to get them the lifestyle that they want to have. I mean, I see that way more often than not. I mean, I'm not saying that there's people that don't just love their business, but to me, that's becoming a little bit more the exception than the rule.
Much more means to an end.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually think that for the most part, if you have a really good business person, they're actually in it to solve people's problems, and the money comes as the result of doing the problem solving.
I'm finding more people are they can really enjoy and love their business, like they love that part there, that they are contributing to a greater good, but they still want the business thing for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's how I would
creating a lifestyle. Yeah. I have to improve my lifestyle right now just for a second, because this has turned into a hot box up here. So hold on.
Okay. It's warm in San Diego today, folks.
He did turn. Well, I thought he turned the air on now. He's opening the window.
I don't know.
Because he said he turned the air on before he I don't know, maybe he decided, everybody, let's do the old wind through the house kind of thing. I can't remember what the word is. Where you let the wind kind of go through and it cools the house. Anyway, whatever. He's talking with himself muted.
No, I was just blowing through my hair. So.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, it just has turned into a hot box since I closed all these windows. Downstairs, nice and cool, like a fridge. Up here, I feel like I've been put away in solitary in the hot box for maybe a couple of weeks for misbehaving. So,
well, you're always misbehaving. So, I mean,
misbehaving.
But you know, an interesting thing though, also talking about the entrepreneurs, is that So, and again, I know we talked about this initially. I think it was even maybe on the first live that I had come on. I had talked about, I really thought that I need to have all this money or this big number to have a good lifestyle. And I learned that you actually need less than that. But I think there's also some people that have gotten into a business that they're like still trying to maintain, and they're not enjoying their business anymore, even though they've already have, brought it to a level where it's way more than they need. And I know need's a relative term, and I also understand retirement and things like that, but that they could actually probably bring things back to a level of enjoyment. Sweat. Am I making you sweat with my comments?
Sweating to the oldies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oldies sweating to the oldies. Is that, you can create a business that will help you have the lifestyle you want, and it's usually less than you think that it is.
Yeah.
And in bringing in systems in place, I think there is a place for creativity and systems. And systems do also help reduce stress once you've, the way I see it, creatively put that system together. And then you run the systems.
Yeah, because you're not putting out a lot of fires, or not as many fires as you used to.
Typically, anyways. That's the way it should work.
So I think that's really what people should be doing, because I think sometimes people just come into, I'm looking to organize, to create systems to just run my business. Well, I think it should be like, okay, well, understand what you really need to have the lifestyle that you want. Again, since I see that more often than not. That's what people are doing it for. And then you work it backwards to, okay, you're going to need to have systems, but then before that, like, you need to think about what systems you need. Because I think sometimes we can get caught up in the forest of business, and then you get locked in to the tree that's in front of you, and all you're seeing is, oh, I need to do automation, and you just get in the world of automation, and you're just trying to be automated and everything, and you have 15,000 different automation things, and this new tool comes around, and it's like squirrel, and so you now want to implement that and learn that one, and I'm speaking from personal experience.
Because you can have automated chaos.
Yes.
It's like
just because you put technology into something. Yeah, I mean, just because you put technology into something doesn't mean it fixes the problem. It sometimes amplifies the whole thing. And there are people whom I personally know who have gigantic businesses who are doing exceptionally well, but they actually feel that they are being crushed by their money-making machine because it's become too complex and it really doesn't sustain their lifestyle. They're working 15, 17 hours a day.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. And yeah, then the statement of, or the phrase, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it's easy to fall into that, like, just because you can do this, and there's this new system that you can look into, and sometimes if it's not broken, if you got a system that's working good, like, leave that alone. Actually find an area that actually needs more improvement. You can come back maybe later and look at something, and you can replace it with the newest and greatest thing. But what are the other areas that can, I think, free up more of your time? Yeah. Because as we talked about, again, on another previous, you guys got to watch all these back episodes. We're covering a lot of things, but it's about the peace of mind that you have, and being able to actually enjoy your life in that life, whatever that lifestyle is, but to be able to enjoy things. Because, like you say, if they're building something now, they're having to be 15 hours a day and whatever. And I know there's the exceptions that just really, but still love that. That's all their life is.
Or they're just starting out and trying to gain momentum and doing as much as they can. Just
right. Well, that to me is kind of like what I call paying the price. You have to kind of do that, though. In the beginning, you typically are doing a lot of stuff like that, but you need to work it into where it's becoming want it to be synchronous with your life and what you need and things, instead of like this all the time. Some people some people do like the chaos, and that's fine. But I think most people don't.
Being on a treadmill like a little money hamster. They just keep going and going and going, and they don't dare get off. We've seen that. Actually, you see that with some people who have jobs in large organizations, and they're afraid to take vacation because it may be found out that they're not missed, or their job wasn't that essential. And I think sometimes owners feel the same way as somebody who has a business. If the business runs without you, how does that make you feel? is it so well organized that you are truly an owner and that you can stand back and strategize instead of having to put in hours? Or are you actually an employee of your business? You are self-employed and the business kind of owns you in a way.
Yeah, that's what I call the high-paying job.
Yeah, that's the high pay. And I think most entrepreneurs in internet marketing and marketing in general, for particularly solopreneurs, unless you really have a staff who is there for you to delegate tasks to, you do have a high paying job instead of being a true business owner.
So we hit top of the hour. So final thoughts?
Ding.
I was looking at the top.
The top of the hour. I feel like I'm with the Brady Bunch now.
Yes. Hey.
Marsha. Jan.
Okay, so final thoughts then, huh?
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Troy?
Well, if we're talking about organization, what is the main goal or purpose of the organization? And the last kind of point that we talked about really was, that you're trying to have a particular lifestyle, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. So I think that, again, working things backwards is look at really where you want to be. And if you're there now, then, look at making sure that the things you have in place maintain that. And if you're not, then start to think about how you can organize, again, through systems. And then like I like to say is use your creative time to really start thinking about it and what is really needed, and then put together systems to maintain that lifestyle. And I mean, that in a nutshell, again, is a lot, but I think that's what you really need to do. You really need to, and I want to throw that out there too, for people that want a particular lifestyle. I'm betting for the most part, unless you're super young, because that's when I found for me, I was like, I wanted this, I want that, I want this. And it was all like money based, that really was more of like trying to be showy. And again, I'm not knocking it, but as having gotten older, yeah, it's just more like, well, I'd rather like, have experiences and with the family and, going places and doing things that create memories. Whereas I think for the most part, the kind of car that I have, even though I have nice cars, but like the kids aren't going to really remember those. They might remember the RV, but that's because like, oh, we went and did this and this and this and this, that kind of stuff. And remember the time we, the propane ran out or some, those kind of things like that, but it's the memories. So think of the lifestyle you want to have, then understand that, think of what you need to put into place to maintain that, and then come back and understand that, use your creative time, your thinking about it and your processing time to really figure out how to put those in place.
Makes sense. I'm with that program.
What program are you with?
I'll do my final thought, and then I'll let Dr. V go last because he seems a little distracted today.
Yeah.
So my final thought, and I don't mean to be personal, but I just
today.
So my final thought is, I think organization is one of those areas that, again, it's good to get help if that's an area that you struggle with. So
Absolutely.
I encourage people, if that's an area that you struggle with, don't be afraid to go out and seek out someone to help you out with it, because in a lot of cases, it's the only way you're going to make it through. So find people super that can help with that.
That's a super good point, though. You might have to really realize that you're not necessarily good at it. And that's when you should bring in somebody that can even on a temporary basis, that can really help you put some of those systems or organization or organize those things together. I mean, like the fact that you bring it up just really made me think like, yeah, that's a really good idea, because
we all have our strengths, and that now one of ours.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, people, some like what I gave, right? My point was, now somebody can feel just like, well, now I have overwhelmed. How am I going to do, how am I going to be able to do that? Whatever. And then your point is, hey, bring in somebody that can help you in that.
Look at Marie Kondo. Helps people organize their houses, and they're a mess. A lot of them, when you first see them, they've got junk everywhere, and they're more of a disaster than we are. So
think of hoarders.
Yeah. So sometimes you need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before I moved to California, I actually hired a professional organizer to help me go through all my stuff.
That's cool.
And the reason for that was I had a hard time letting go of things because I had strong emotional attachments to them, or maybe a slight hoarder tendency, saying that I think I need that book. At some point, I'll need that book, or I'll need this, or I paid so much money for this, I can't possibly get rid of it. And she, gosh, what was her? Papalardo. She was Pop Organizer was her business. Her last name was Papalardo, which I thought was great. So she was the Pop Organizer. And so she actually helped me get rid of and donate or sell off, mostly donate, probably about 3/4 of the things that I own. So I could actually just head out here very quickly with very little actually coming to me in a pod of a moving van. Mm-hmm. So yeah, hiring outside people is really important in terms of getting you over the edge of actually letting go of things. And I think to a great extent, when Troy was talking about, the cars, the 2 Lambos in every garage does not give you or guarantee you instant happiness.
No.
And part of it can be because you're going to have to maintain these things for a long period of time. You've got car insurance. What happens if somebody dings your car? Things like that. So I think there's a certain tendency towards minimalism as we get older, mainly because we want to have a lifestyle. And as we organize things, organization's not necessarily anti-creative, because you organize yourself by getting up in the morning at a particular time. You organize yourself by having a meal. You organize yourself if you're writing a book to put pages down, to actually write something into the book. And writing down your creative thoughts or your business ideas, your inspirations, is a great way to actually create a strategic plan for the future. So for me, it's been personally a journey of resisting organization and resisting systems, but now I find myself actually embracing the idea that systems may actually be able to save me and allow me to have a more profitable lifestyle business.
And they can also help you to have more freedom in a sense.
Exactly. It frees up your time. And I keep thinking back to the thing about putting out fires. In my old practice, the first one I remember practice that I had, I was constantly putting out fires. It's like, so-and-so is unhappy. We've run out of chemicals for the x-ray machine. This has done this, and we can't develop these films. We don't have enough postage to send out the insurance claims because we didn't have electronic stuff. We had everything was designed around the mail systems and making sure that the postage meter had enough postage loaded into it. Now you've got things like stamps.com. You can print postage out. I mean, things are so much easier for being an entrepreneur these days than in your traditional bricks and mortar business from 20, 30 years ago.
This is true.
Absolutely.
Get systematized.
So on that note, bye everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow's another day. Thursday.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Tomorrow's another day. Scarlett has told us so.
We'll be back.
Bye.
Bye for now.